Hello, everybody. My name is Emily Hanlon, and I will be presenting to you all about aging today and my personal and professional growth as a gerontologist and what I've learned over the course of this whole program and this last year and a half. So I'm very excited to share that with you. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I originally come from Northern California. I grew up in Northern California and I did a few years of my community college education out there. And then I moved to North Carolina and I finished my undergraduate degree at UNC Wilmington in communication studies. And then this was last May when I graduated. And then I moved to Greensboro and I began the graduate program of gerontology. So that's a little bit about me and how I moved and came to North Carolina. And I love it, and I don't see myself going back, so that's great. But yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about me. So for my presentation, my objective today is to explain the personal and professional growth that I experienced throughout this course, throughout this past year and a half. And I'll be doing that through explaining theory, research, and practice and how those apply to me professionally and personally. I will also be explaining how my internship and my personal experience reflected that professional and personal growth and how theory, research, and practice all integrated into my field experience and what I learned from that. So first I'm going to be talking about the gerontological framework, which is basically the whole framework that focuses and looks the lens through what gerontology looks through. So it's the biopsychosocial lens of how we view gerontology and what categories to look at in people to ensure that we are effective and helpful gerontologists. So this is going to be the biological and psychological and social aspects of aging. So biologically, that means physiological and genetic changes. This can be wrinkles forming on the face, gray hair coming up from the hair, from the scalp or from the skin, or just physically slowing down as people age. It's a natural process and it's just things you can't help, but it's just you're gonna see it physically and biologically. The next is psychologically, so that could be cognitive or mental health shifts. This could take the form of Alzheimer's disease or dementia or mental health such as depression or anxiety. Things like that can arrive because people are growing older. They might be more isolated or more lonely. And then it's also the lens of socially. So as people grow older, they may retire. That again can lead to feeling lonely. Relationships can alter, change, family status or in families can look different, like maybe siblings passing away, parents passing away, uh, kids growing their own families, so they're doing their own things. These are all things to consider as you look at older adults and just being a gerontologist, these are all things that are important to note and look out for and look and just to know. So now I'm going to be talking about my experience about this framework and how I've kind of evolved to understand uh, this framework and this lens of looking at gerontology. So in 2020, I used to work at a rehab hospital just in the activities department. I would do things like coordinate bingo and don't let the balloon touch the ground and things kind of just to keep the residents moving because obviously at this time volunteers or visitors and there weren't any volunteers able to come in and out and visitors couldn't come in and out, so it was kind of just confined to who the residents were at the time and keeping them moving, but obviously you couldn't do much because you had to stay inside. So that was a limitation, but I also didn't really know. I was early in my college years and I wasn't studying gerontology exclusively in my college. So I didn't know obviously anything about the gerontological perspective, but or the gerontological framework. So knowing what I know now, I could take these different things like if residents had physical limitations or mental limitations, I could gear the activities towards memory or hand-eye coordination, or even socially would have been good activities just for the residents to mingle with each other, because even though they couldn't have outside external socialization, they could socialize together. But obviously, they kind of knew who everybody was. It wasn't that big of a facility. So, knowing what I know now, I'd probably do the activities slightly different. But I got the opportunity in my internship at it was an organization called Horsepower, to really see the gerontological framework come to life. And it was just cool to see because I saw it biologically, emotionally, mentally, socially. I saw every aspect take place at Horsepower because I was shadowing these classes that had older adults that were riding horses, that were doing things that they physically had never done before. Some of them never had ridden a horse before, some of them had, and it was just cool to see them get more comfortable and relaxed as they rode the horse, and then that led into them getting emotionally attached to their horse. And then they were in classes with other older adults that were around their age, so they got the social aspect. So it was just cool to see in my internship that I could see each of these sections of this framework and this lens kind of play out in front of me. So it was really cool to see. So now I'll be talking about theory and the importance of theory and how I've learned about theory throughout this course. So theory is really important and it allows gerontologists to problem solve and create solutions to existing issues within the older adult community. It kind of allows people to identify what different behaviors and different reoccurrences, and it makes it make sense for people. And there are so for me, there are three different theories that I'm going to be talking about that I believe apply to me and what I can see applying to my practice in the future or my career in the future, that I think that will be very useful. So the first one is the socio-emotional selective theory. So basically what this is older adults realize that they're getting older and they have to start prioritizing what is important to them. So this can be relationships, important goals, um, and they're gonna naturally prioritize these things over things like money or personal possessions or just things that just don't seem important anymore. I think that's just a natural process of life. As people grow older, they kind of prioritize things that they didn't normally prioritize before, but they know that are important. Another theory that's kind of similar is the selective optimization with compensation theory. So this one's basically people start to understand that they have certain strengths in certain areas and then weaknesses in others. So they know that they want to prioritize those strengths and maybe not prioritize the weaknesses because they know it's not as important, especially as they're growing older. So that could be memory or physical mobility. People are like, oh, I'm strong in these areas and I want to keep being strong in these areas. So they're going to select those areas to focus on and stay healthy in. And then the last theory is the theory of strength and vulnerability integration. So this is the theory of emotional regulation and just prioritizing and selecting how to respond and what's worth responding to and just emotionally regulating, because I think as you grow older, you realize things aren't as important and some things are important. So it's what you want to spend your time either worrying about or caring about or putting your energy into. So I think all of these are important and they all touch a different side of growing older and older adults, but I think they're very important because I want to be in a career and a job that builds relationships, and each of these theories help better understand people, and using these theories I can build my relationship and understand somebody better in order to help them with whatever they may need. So now I'll be talking about research and the importance of research and what why we need research. So Overall, research allows people to use data and to support ideas or concepts, and it gives reflection to varying theories. So I think this really connects to theories and it just backs up theories even more because there's numerical and number and statistics identifying these theories and proving why things work and why things may not work. And I think I'm new in my experience with research, but I appreciated one of the assignments that we were given in this program, and it was in my GRO 620 course. The course was called Research Methods, but the assignment was a literature review on a topic that we got to choose for ourselves. And obviously from my internship, I care really a lot about older adults, but I also have an interest in animals and what they can provide and do for people, especially older adults, physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I decided to do my topic on how pet ownership and how animal therapy helps older adults and can alleviate loneliness or isolation and help people that have depression. Um, and I found through my lit review, through researching scholarly articles, that there are a lot of pros for having a pet or using animal therapy, such as companionship. It helps people stay active. It gives them a purpose. They're taking care of something. They have something reliable if, they're home alone or if their kids are moved out and they're starting their own families, they have something to keep them company. It just gives them companionship. But through my research, I also saw that there was a great emphasis on being careful and knowing when the line is of, yes, I can take care of an animal, to maybe I don't have the funds, maybe I don't have the resources, maybe I don't have the housing that I need to properly care for this animal. So it's not always black and white with research. It also depends what you're researching, but I found that research is important no matter if it's for what you think, what theory or what you're trying to support or against. It's just important to have and understand the full picture and not just pick and choose what you think sounds good in the research. Now, for me, being a scholar practitioner, I think I have lots of room to grow because my experience with research and conducting research or experiments is limited, but I think this literature review was a great step in the right direction and a great foot in the door because I got to see scholarly what people are saying, but I was also able to apply it a little bit to my internship because it was still animal therapy. And obviously, a lot of people, you can't own a horse at horsepower. It's difficult to own a horse. So they were still getting that emotional connection and physical activity that you would get from pet ownership, but you didn't have to own the animal. So it was cool to see how my research and my literature review and my assignment from that reflected over to in person. Now I'm going to be talking about practice and the key concepts that I intend on applying to my future practice and whatever job I may get. Two of these I'm going to be talking about are just terms that I think are that were reoccurring throughout my program. And one is just a skill that I think is very important to have and that I think is a strength of mine and how I'm going to apply it to a future practice in my life. So first, the life course perspective. This is basically just a holistic observation, holistic lens to look at a person. For example, if I'm a case manager and I have a client that was sent to me with just problems or issues that they were struggling with, I can ideally interview them, get to know them, understand how they view things, how they interpret things, um, and better learn their past, what their experiences, and just make sure I can better understand them and help them in the way that they need help. Successful aging kind of piggybacks off that. They work together a little bit because successful aging it just varies person to person, and there is no right or wrong answer to successful aging. It's hard to define because there's so many varying categories of how people think and how they want to age, and some people want to be want no work and all play. Some people still want to work a little bit. Some people want to be social. Some people don't want to be social. So it just depends who you're talking to. And that's where the life course perspective kind of comes out more, because once you get to know, again, if I was a case manager and I was trying to connect a client to resources, getting to know them and what they view as successful aging or what they view as an ideal way to age or enter into retirement or whatever the case may be, I need to understand that person individually. So those are two ideas that I think are important and that will continuously reappear in my practice or in my career. Another one is communication. So obviously communication is important in any capacity, whether it's with bosses, coworkers, clients, whoever it may be. But I think it's especially important in this field because you could be talking to not only the client, but family members, friends, their daughters, sons, nieces, nephews. There's so many different moving parts that you could be talking to someone about. Um, so communication is key, making sure that everybody's on the same page is very important, very important. And an example that I carried out communication and we had to do in the course was in my GRO 570 class called Social Services for the Aging. So we had an assignment that was a peer role play. So we got partnered up with another classmate and we practiced being a case manager for a client. So we were given different scenarios, like we had to interview our client, get to know them, understand what they needed assistance with. And then we also had to practice uh, catching up with them, getting updates on how their how the resources that we showed them were going, what they wanted changed, what they didn't. And then lastly, we had to interview them as part of a termination. So we practiced terminating the partnership or the client to case manager relationship for a variety of reasons can come up, such as maybe they are moving away, maybe they don't like the service, and you have to figure out how to respond to that in a proactive manner. Um, and or maybe they just don't need the service anymore and they've graduated and they've completed what they needed. So there is a variety of reasons, and I was just thankful um to that assignment to get that experience of communicating live and not having anything prepared beforehand and knowing how to respond to a client that may be upset or maybe very thankful or maybe confused and they don't know what they want, but they know that they're struggling. So I think that was a good opportunity to role play and communicate. So now I'm going to be talking about my field experience, which I'm very excited for because I feel like I just learned a lot and I just love being able to see what I've learned in the classroom and apply it and see it happen in front of my eyes. So this is a picture of um, horsepower. So on the right is the barn where they keep all the horses, and then on the left you can kind of see a little bit. There's a horse walking out. Is the arena where they have classes. Just to give you a little background. But yes, so I did my field experience at Horsepower. It's a nonprofit organization. They have kids from 3 to 80 years old, older adults to 80 years old. They have veterans classes. Um, they have troubled youth classes. They have anything and everything you can imagine. I was lucky enough to where I was able to shadow the veterans class. I shadowed just your typical normal classes with older adults. I also shadowed UNCG's speech pathology class with Dr. Perry. I shadowed a few of those sessions and classes, so I just got to watch them, but I helped them a little bit with one of their classes, so that was cool to just see different perspectives and different types of help. Because for me, I was helping more the emotional, mental, physical side, and theirs it was speech specifically. So it was cool how they used horses to better their speech. So it was cool. Um, but yeah, there were three main ideas that I think I learned and improved on as in my field experience, and it was communication, which I think was already my strong suit, but I got to see it play out because I had to communicate with family members, the client, my other volunteers, other not coworkers, but other employees that work there, um, just to communicate and make sure the classes ran smoothly. And then organization promoting. So my main idea and my main goal was to actually interview the volunteers at Horsepower because there are, I would say probably about 90% of the volunteers were older adults, which was awesome to see and honestly so motivating because I'm like, man, if these older adults can clean these stalls and move these horses and feed the horses and bring in the hay, like I want to be motivated like that. So I was interviewing a lot of the older adults of why they volunteer, what benefits are they receiving, um, yeah, just why they volunteer and what benefits. And a lot of them were saying that it gives them purpose. It's a sense of community because there's so many volunteers. I think one of my supervisors said there's about 100 volunteers per week that come and 300 volunteers that come every month. So there's so many volunteers, so many new people coming in, and they're all honestly retirement age. They just need something to do. They've worked their whole lives and they just need something, and horses are a great way to connect with nature, with being outside, and you're helping either kids or older adults ride these horses, and it's just so fulfilling and it keeps you active, it keeps you moving and and not from sitting at home. So that's basically the consensus that I got from interviewing these volunteers. And then I also had experience promoting volunteering at Horsepower. So I handed out brochures to different places, mostly a YMCA gym, and then I got the opportunity to go to a farmer's market with one of the workers, and we promoted volunteering for Horsepower there. And it was just one Saturday morning, and we went and set up a booth and promoted that way. So we were just advocating for volunteers and showing what we do at Horsepower, and it was just really cool to see different aspects of not only helping like directly in classes, but advocating and seeing more of the background of how a nonprofit organization like Horsepower works. So now I'm going to be talking about my overall reflection. I have absolutely loved getting to see things and learn things in the classroom and apply them in person. I think I'm just excited to start my career. I haven't started an official career yet since I've been in school my whole life. But I'm excited to start. I've had random odds and end jobs, but I'm eager to hone in on one specific area, such as gerontology, and get that started. But I know there's a lot I still need to learn hands-on, and I've learned a lot in the classroom, but I'm excited to learn it hands-on. And another assignment that we had that I think I grew a lot from, even though it was pretty difficult to put together, but it was from GRO 631. It was a planning and evaluation for professionals in Asian class. And it was my program intervention evaluation. So we were paired up with another group member, another classmate, and a group member, and we were given the assignment to build a program and a type of intervention that would help the older adult population with a certain issue or certain problem that needed attention. And for us, it was heart disease. So me and my group member created a program that would basically educate older adults on heart disease, how to prevent it through activity, exercise, diet, um, things like that. And it was a hypothetical course that we had to put together, and we had a specific budget, and we had to budget our resources correctly. And it was just really eye-opening to see how involved it is to create a program because there were so many moving parts that we didn't even think about before, but it was cool because you had to make sure you had a place to have the program and how much it would cost to rent the program and how it would work. And we wanted special guest speakers to come in to talk about different things such as diet and proper nutrition and physical exercise and how those are important for the heart. And we just really had to get nitty-gritty with our specifics. So it was cool to see, as somebody who did an internship at a nonprofit, who they probably had to think of, they definitely had to think of all these things when they made their program. They had to think of a budget, they had to stay within that budget, they had to coordinate a location and things like that at Horsepower. So it was cool to see the back end of it more. And I just learned a lot of communication there is very, very important, but just coordinating and working with other people to get something this extreme and not extreme, but this detailed done. And overall, I've learned a lot in this course. I just wish to continue to grow in my strengths. Again, I think my strengths, I'm very adaptable and very eager to learn. I'll ask questions, and I think that will definitely carry over into my future career in gerontology. Um, and I'm excited to learn from my weaknesses. I think I mentioned it a little bit before. I don't have a lot of experience in general, but um in the field itself, but you got to start somewhere. I'm totally excited to start learning more and growing and get a job, but um yeah, I just wish to continue to grow and continue to absorb and adapt to many different things and career opportunities that come my way. So overall, I wanted to say this for my conclusion because I just thought it was very moving. But I asked one of my volunteers at Horsepower why they do what they do, why they come every day. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, it's humid, it's rainy. Like, why do you do it? It's hard work. You have to clean the horse stalls. You got to feed the horses with heavy buckets and I was just like, why do you do it? You're voluntarily giving your time and your energy to a place like this. And he said he wanted to be able to give back. And I just thought that was so cool. And I just related so much to it because that's exactly what I want to do. I want to give back to the community of older adults and the population of older adults that gave to me. Like my age parents. My parents are about 60, 65, so they're getting up there, they're getting older. They don't need caregiving yet, but they're getting older and they gave so much to me. I love my parents and I want to be able to give back to that generation and back to that age range that helped me grow and become who I am today. And eventually, we all need a little help here and there, so why not help those who helped raise our generation? So I want to thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.